Good morning, everyone. We are starting our third session and the second day. In this third session, we have actually 6 different presentations, and we are having 2 hours time. So that's why I would like all presenters should actually keep with schedule. So I'm giving you 15 minutes to finish your presentations. And I'm going to warn you in the 13 minutes, so that's why we are going to have half an hour for the question session. And yes, let's start with Elif Uçerli. She is from Istanbul Aral University, and her presentation topic will be about how conflicts affect women, human trafficking in Balkans and the Black Sea region. Let me share her presentation here.
Hello everyone, dear professors, dear students and dear participants. I am very glad to be here to be part of this congress both as participant and both as a member of organization committee. My topic is how conflicts affect women and human trafficking in Balkans and Black Sea. My main thesis is civil wars and conflicts affect predominantly women and girls due to the human trafficking, which is one of the main threats during mass migration, especially in today. In the world, so many women are being exploited by men. These exploitation ways are physical, sexual, economic, psychological, violence and labor exploitation, body exploitation, sexual harassment, etc. Underlying reason for this is gender inequality is patriarchal system. Male-dominated system provides continuity by exploitation of women. Also, this male-dominated system has been for 1,000 years, and it's very hard to change easily. Of course, situations differ for the situations of the regions. In stabilized states, for example, West European countries, maybe punishment and control mechanisms can be useful. But of course, this preventive policies can't be very successful every time. The greatest problem of civil wars, conflicts, and wars is destabilizing the regions. In the absence of authority, illegal crime organizations are occurring and growing. Also, another problem of these regions is mass migration. Absence of security on migration ways cause the people who are escaping from violating fall into human traffickers' hands. This is one of the United Nations posters about human rights and women rights. Also, this is a map of 2022 conflicts areas in the world. You can see here the Russo-Ukraine war is a great issue of the Black Sea. So what's human trafficking? Human trafficking is an organized national or mostly transnational crime based on forced exploitation of people's labor, sexuality and bodies, and it is especially on women. We can describe human trafficking as 21st century modern slavery. In fact, human traffickers kidnap people by force or consent. This consent is a consent. This is especially with lie. Human traffickers confiscate their victims' identity cards, passports, or other identity documents, for example, money, etc., and force them to work. Of course, they don't pay their victims for this work. Human trafficking became an international defined crime through the 2003 United Nations Protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children. According to United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, trafficking crimes include sexual exploitation, forced labor, used in crime, begging, forced marriage, removal of organs, and trafficking in children. Human traffickers has different ways to control and abuse their victims. These are physical and sexual abuse, blackmail, for example, their photos or videos or lives, or emotional manipulation or removal of official documents, for example, identity. When you are kidnapped by human traffickers, they take your identity cards, and when you go to an office, for example, police office, for save you from them, they first ask you your identity cards, and when you don't have identity card, of course you have rights in human rights, but if you don't have your identity card or your passport or any document that shows that reveals your identity, you always have a little bit of threat. You never feel yourself enough confidence. In 19th and 20th, human trafficking took place mainly in post-Soviet area. Today it occurs mainly in areas of civil wars and conflicts. It's important because after USSR's resolution, the poverty, instability, and insecure situation increased in the region. This is an important movie about human trafficking in post-Soviet area. I wanted to offer this to you. Its name really Lilia Forever. It is based through. It is Lucas Modison's film and is based on a true story about a 17 girl which is living. 17 years old girl which is living in post-Soviet area, and she first becoming a sex worker for survive, and then she's becoming unfortunately sex slave in human traffickers hands. Hocam bir tane ileri gitti olması Okay. The number of victims of trafficking has also increasing over the years. According to International Labour Organization, the number of victims of human trafficking was 14.3 million in 2016, and this number increased to 50 million in 2021. And I think it's increasing same range. It's also estimated that the annual income of human traffickers is 150 million and growing every year. Of course, it is not very easy to find that rate because due to its illegality, it's important to determine the exact number of victims and profits. Victims of human trafficking are of all genders and ages, but predominantly women and girls. Two main reasons, both related to gender equality. Sexual exploitation. One is sexual exploitation is a huge sector, and women are valuable objects for traffickers. Also, in situations of conflicts and civil war, women and children tend to migrate to safer areas encounter traffickers, while men take up arms, as we see in Turkey after Syrian war, unfortunately. UNODC reports confirm this disparity. In 2016, 79% of victims were women and girls. In 10 years, this rate hasn't changed much and became 72. But I didn't write here, but so I wrote here, I forgot. It's important that the rate of girls are increasing very hard. Most of them are forced to work in well, most of them are forced in work in foreign countries under the threat of violence. I'm a little bit excited, sorry. This is my first presentation in English. Here there is one of UNODC's reports. This report is from 2023. You can see the extreme violence differs between men and women. Physical violence, extreme violence, and threats of psychological violence is much more than women than men. And Balkans and Black Sea. Actually, I thought that work would be about Balkans and Black Sea, but then I mostly worked on Black Sea. Of course, Balkans are important too, but today Black Sea conflicts are more not important, more current. It's because of civil wars in Ukraine and today's Russo-Ukraine war. As unregistered migration routes from the Middle East and Asia to Europe pass through the Balkans and the Black Sea, these regions are very available for human trafficking, especially after Ukraine-Russia war. There is a mass migration to Europe. There are some preventative policies, as I say, mostly in the Western European countries. There are many preventative policies, but it's today I'm not sure how successful are they. They are still insufficient, the preventative policies against human trafficking. This issue is, as a conflict issue, as a conclusion, this issue is important for every woman because there is no guarantee that Turkey will stay stable forever and we will never have to migrate. Thank you for listening.
Okay, Fiona, thank you very much, and thank you very much for keeping your schedule as well. So today we are going to talk about the non-military threats. So that's why it's a good start for us because this issue is so important, and most of the time, unfortunately, we are not highlighting that. We are talking about the military threats, the military situation, but actually there are a lot of victims because of this military situation. So we also talk about their situation as well. So it's a good start. Thank you very much for this inspiring, presentation. Right now, I am going to present our second, presenter, Dragan, Lulia, Mihaela. I think I'm pronouncing right.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, Yulia, we are hearing you. And the second presenter's topic will be God and Money, Radicalization and Financial Motivation in Terrorist Attacks, the case of Krokus Tihol, Moscow. Yes, you can start to make your presentation. We are listening to you.
So my name is Julia Dragan. I'm a PhD student at the National Defense University, and in cooperation with Professor Dr. Iulian Chifu, my PhD coordinator, we decided to emphasize the main warning signals that indicate vulnerabilities along the radicalization process, as well as financial motivations for recruitment in the light of the Crocus City Hall terrorist attack near Moscow. Before starting the presentation, I also want to congratulate the members of the Congress for organizing this event and also the conference management team for arranging the sessions. So our team, we believe that this team is a topical team for the wider Black Sea region states in order to prevent terrorist activities, as well as increasing awareness regarding evolving trends of recruitment and the formation of a real pool of mercenary terrorists that may transit the region and affect Europe. So the research aimed to answer three research questions. How strong is the financial motivation in the radicalization process? Two, what might be societal vulnerability factors in Central Asia, Northern Caucasus, and the Volga regions that can be used by ISIS in the recruitment process? And three, what evolutions are used to enforce the ideological narrative of ISIS in order to attract recruits and justify carrying out terrorist attacks? So the methodology that we used aimed to investigate the societal evolutions that would challenge the balance between the impact of financial motivations in the recruitment in terrorist organizations versus radicalization processes. So the results were achieved based on a comparative study of the evolutions and criteria leading to recruitment based on terrorist mercenaries by looking at the radicalization of people joining ISIS, but also at the vulnerabilities of the target recruitment areas, as well as the elements of demonizing Russia that ISIS promotes for discrimination reasons. Data reflecting previously existing trends linked to radicalized individuals and their motivations for committing terrorist attacks against Russia were also used in a comparative manner. We took a wide study on the behavior of terrorist organizations related to sources of money, payments, and attraction, sociological and psychological motives and mechanisms for recruiting purposes and structure of those terrorist organizations. And also, an encyclopedic study allowed us to pass via numerous studies, and we identified those related to interviews and sources directly from the heart of terrorist organizations. So our aim was to identify how important is the role of religion, radicalization, ideology, and how much money plays the role in terrorism. Comparative studies of different organizations in different time frames and stages allowed us to draw our conclusions to answer our research questions. So the study case, the terrorist attack of the Crocus Theater near Moscow, was we seen as a purely terrorist operation, even though not suicidal, with a pre-planned exit strategy. So the allegation was that the attackers, originally from Tajikistan, were paid for the attack and even could have been part of a false flag terrorist attack supported and orchestrated by Ukraine, according to Russia's official statements. However, ISIS Khorasan claimed the attack and even posted pieces of recordings from body cameras belonging to some of the attackers during the operations. That prompt us to look more broadly into the relationship between God and money. What are the purposes, motives, and ways to move to terrorist attack, and if money could be a way and motivation in order to do it? For sure, jihadists does not exclude money needed for their operations, but the claim of the Russian officials, done in no conditions of the large-scale, full-intensity, long-term war of aggression of Russia in Ukraine, is debatable. One unique statement obtained most probable under torture. So our assumption is that the mechanism behind a terrorist attack could not lie only on money. Jihadists are not mercenaries, but have a cause, an ideology, and a purpose. Even if an escape was hoped or prepared by the perpetrators, the terrorist attack required radicalization in preparation for the attack. It wasn't a criminal gang or mercenary operation, especially not in Russia. No human rights observers, no priority in capturing the attackers alive to punish in court and learn from their radicalization, recruitment, and networks. So starting from the factual situation in the case of the Crocus terrorist attack and our premise, furthermore, we shall analyze. Firstly, money in relation with ideology. Secondly, the organizational sociology of terrorists. And thirdly, the recruitment of Central Asians in the Islamic State. First of all, money and ideology. So money is an important part of any terrorist organization because it ensures survival, paying the tax, creating means of the terrorist activity, and ensuring the outcomes needed. However, different organizations in different times procure that money through different means. So if the financing in Al-Qaeda was characterized by donations and supporting a strictly Islamic believer's life of operatives, on the other hand, the financing in ISIS shifted to mercantile and criminal gangs typology of getting money in some periods, with a full interest for money and less or no devotion at all for the Islamic religion and aims formally defended. Also, members of a terrorist organization would expect to be recruited and paid for survival and preparations of the terrorist operations. But money per se is less expected to be an incentive for terrorist activities. Jihadists would expect that the organization is taking care of their families, of the martyrs after an attack, but mercenariat of any kind in doing terrorist attacks is unexpected and somehow unethical for terrorist organizations. Recruiting through radicalization and devotion to Islam was the original way of doing things, but money plays a role, and sometimes we have seen the process of recruiting by financial means and paying money, especially in compare Al-Qaeda versus Islamic State. So therefore, could money become the main purpose of such organizations? And if this is a scenario, how this could transform it into an insurgency, a job as employee of a region in a quasi-state, or a mercenary fulfilling a number of needed tasks for the terrorist organization short of taking part in terrorist attacks. The ISIS novelty would be to bring mercenaries and foreign fighters inside terrorist organizations, especially in jihadi wars. Administration under terrorist regime shifted the purpose and structure of ISIS as a terrorist organization in Iraq and Syria. Salaries for terrorist activities in a false description, since ISIS acted more as an administration of authority and terrorist attacks, especially suicide ones, were carried out by specialized persons in the group. So we are talking about an approach and evolution closer to quasi-state entities, administration of territory and a type of governance, insurgency, military activities, and not terrorist ones done by mercenary and non-jihadists, criminal groups collecting money but not achieving the targets of terrorist operations. So the issue is how they are choosing the cause linked to jihadi ideology, suicide bombers, suicide action, as well as an organization. Here, money counts in terms of image of the organization. Important operations carries on prestige and brand as well as taking care of families. However, the suicide terrorists come already radicalized and prepared before reaching the organization ranks, whereas radicalization inside the group is more about the maintenance of the cohesion and identity, not a purpose for creating suicide terrorist fighters. Moreover, there is a lot of literature discussing if terrorists could be based on mercenaries, and the presupposition is that people join a terrorist organization not purely for money and not only for that. What is the modus operandi of ISIS Khorasan? The terrorist organization is recruiting from Tajikistan, using Turkey as intermediary destination. Different recruits in different stages are hiding inside Turkey, coming like tourist smuggling in Syria, trained there especially for operations in their native countries, and then coming back illegally. Training is especially designed for yet fabrication and use, but also for the instruments and means of terrorist operations. But from that known behaviors to mercenaries in order to attack like Crocus Theater, there is a long way. So now in terms of the organizational sociology of terrorism, first of all, terrorist organizations are often comprised of two types of participants, ideologues or true believers dedicated to the group's cause, and mercenaries who are adept at raising money through illegal means. Terrorist groups are needed both participants in order to function effectively. The most common motivations of terrorist groups are to change the political order of a society and to fight for central social issues or causes, the benefit of which do not remain confined to the members of the group, public goods. In the case of ISIS, joining the group could potentially provide recruits with access to money, power, and protection. So the Islamic State was joined by a very large number of recruits between 9,000 up to 200,000 members, also including personnel who joined its police and security intelligence apparatus. The recruits to the Islamic State joined for different reasons as ideological reasons, personal gains, and that could have been a reason considering the ideological tensions and disagreements within the group. So in terms of the recruitment, the reasons for joining the organization could start from ensuring the basic needs as food, water, and shelter to ensuring the sense of belonging, friendship, recognition, self-esteem, and even the prospect of self-actualization. Now, the third part, the recruitment of Central Asians in the Islamic State. So ISIL has built its ranks by recruiting fighters from across the globe. While the majority of ISIL recruits originated in the Middle East, the Maghreb, Western Europe, Central Asia, Central Asia is the third largest source of foreign fighters in Syria. And as of 2015, Central Asia accounted for the third largest source of Islamic foreign fighters in Syria and Iraq. In fact, they were radicalized and recruited from the diaspora in Russia. Low-paid jobs and discrimination were the context for Islamist radicalization and recruitment. So a majority of Central Asians fighting for ISIS were proved to be recruited while working abroad in Russia. The conclusions. First of all, how strong is the financial motivation in the radicalization process? Well, very weak and marginal if it is for terrorist purposes. Important when administrating territory or making a war. Mercenaries are involved, but terrorist activities per se, especially suicide and jihadi operations, require radicalization, ideological formation, and commitment, devotion to the cause. Second of all, what might be societal vulnerability factors in Central Asia, Northern Caucasus, and the Volga regions that can be used by ISIS in the recruitment process? Here we have a debate between well-prepared and radicalized operatives with a survival financial status at least, and recruits radicalized from the poor levels and requiring survival status that lead them to joining terrorists. But other psychological and social incentives needed to be added too. Money is not enough, and a certain level of radicalization is happening even for the constrained participants in a terrorist organization and administration. And the third one, what evolutions are used to enforce the ideological narrative of ISIS in order to attract recruits and justify carrying out terrorist attacks? Money plays a role when it's about to caring for the families who are paying respect to the martyrs. But prestige, relevance, the brand of the organization, mediatizations, and also image have an important part in the choice of the organization, attraction, and also recruiting. So therefore, what is our conclusion? Our conclusion is that the Crocus Theater terrorist attack was run by terrorist radicalized individuals and not by paid mercenaries. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this inspiring and full of information, actually, presentation. Yes, actually, it's one of the biggest problems right now we are facing, actually, the terrorist activities in the region. They are most of the time determining the current situation and actually determining the current reflections of the states. So I think that there will be a lot of questions to you, but please write your questions and we will ask you at the end of the session. Thank you very much for this inspiring presentation again. And now our third presenter will be Ana Yusefian. Actually, I would like to offer dear Rıfatullah Rıfat. He's going to have two presentations. So in order to not to make a connection between them, I'm offering to make her first presentation first, and then Anna can make her presentation, and then finally we can take your second presentation, if it is okay.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen in Turkey, and very good afternoon in other parts of the world, including one from India. I have no issues, but seeing that you have already scheduled my two presentations together, I have merged them in a way so all along you will have one sequence, because in the upper one, the first one, I'll be discussing about the impact of Russo-Ukraine war on global energy supply chain. And then in the second one, I'll be focusing and zooming on to its impact on the energy security of the Western Europe. So basically, I have connected both of them, and I'll be presenting them as one presentation. If it's okay, I can present now, or you can give the podium to the Sofyan, who is already positioned for that.
Yeah, okay. So we can continue with Anna, and then I will give you the floor, and you will make both of your presentations as you wish. Yes, Anna, welcome. I'm seeing you, but unfortunately we cannot hear you. Your voice is not coming. There is a problem with your microphone. Could you actually make a kind of arrangement onto your computer, because it's not possible for us to hear you. Sorry. Yes, I think you can write to chat, but I don't know if there are another program open in your computer which use the voice. So we cannot hear you, so maybe you can write to chat. But it's not possible to hear you right now. Sorry, yes. Sorry, unfortunately, still the voice is not coming. If you have another microphone, we can wait for you to use. I'm so sorry. It doesn't work.
Maybe you can switch presentations.
Yes, actually. Let me offer you to actually skip the next presenter, and then you can try to fix your problem about the voice, and then you can make your presentation, if that is okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so dear Rıfatullah, actually the floor is yours. Yes, you are going to make two presentations. One is about war and energy in the global energy supply chain, and the second one is again related with the Russia-Ukraine war and the scenario building techniques. So we are going to you have a half an hour time to complete both of your presentations, and we are listening to you.
Okay, thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, can you see my screen, and am I audible to you all?
Yeah, actually we can see that.
You can see the slides because most of the crux would be on the slides.
Yes, but if you make it a full screen, it will be better for us.
It's fine now.
We saw your presentation file, but it is not in full screen. So it's full of writing, so it will be difficult to read in this way.
I put it in the full screen mode now. Is it the same?
Yes, we see the same. Could you switch between the actual slides? Yesterday we had a problem about switching.
Same, or I have changed the slide now?
No, we still see the first slide, so that's why it would be good for you to make actually this presentation for full screen. It is better.
I'm trying the same, but on Microsoft.
Yes, you can actually try to click on the slideshow on the bar.
Onlar kaynaklanmadı. Olmadı böyle devam etsin.
You can change it.
No, I can't change because he opened in his computer. If I can do, yes, but
If you can do it for me, I'll be happy.
yes, have we downloaded? Okay. If we have downloaded, I will, of course.
Okay, till the time it is being done, let me introduce myself. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, once again, a very good morning. I myself is Brigadier General Rifat, a retired officer from Pakistan, presently pursuing my PhD in international relations, and the topic of my thesis is the impact of Russo-Ukraine war on global energy supply chain with special focus on energy security of Western Europe. First of all, I am very thankful to the Aero University and the organizers for organizing such a intellectual discourse. And I don't see my friend Okte Bingol, who was sitting here, and I think he left.
Here.
The
He's about to come.
the only familiar face from the audience, because I am also part of George Marshall Center, the American Institute of Strategic Studies in Germany. And I saw his face, and he is the one who shared the call for paper in that portal.
Yeah.
And let me also extend my gratitude to Okte and Warlik, filled my questionnaire related to my thesis, and I posted that questionnaire in the WhatsApp group. So anyone who can do it for me, it's a great effort for me, because I'll have insights on that.
Actually, you haven't sent your slides. We
Yeah,
asked
could you
our
please
friends.
send the presentation to us so that we can use it from here?
If you upload your presentation file to the chat part, I can open that.
I share it in the chat box.
Let me check. Yes, you can share to use the chat box here in Teams.
It does not have an option to send the.
You can just drop the file to there and it will be uploaded.
Okay, let me try that. No, it's not uploading.
Böyle devam edelim. Belki dünkü hata olmayacaktır yani. Niye
Okay.
önceden hata olacağını kabul ediyoruz?
Oldu hocam.
Düzgün oldu.
Olmadı.
Her sistemde olmadı.
Olmadı. Denedi olmadı.
Öyle mi?
Yes, or you can send us an email.
You can send your presentation via email so that we can open it here.
Okay, just a minute. Give me a minute.
Yeah, waiting.
Oktay. Öyle mi? Sözü verelim.
Aynen.
Okay. Okay, I have sent the mail.
Yes, I'm waiting. My friend sent to me and I will open that immediately in 2 minutes.
Excuse me, am I audible now?
Yes, that's great. We can hear you.
Okay.
Bak şimdi şey var, erişim izin verilmesi.
I think that's okay right now.
Okay, so let me begin. Ladies and gentlemen, the two topics, actually they are interconnected and they both are related to my PhD thesis, which is regarding the impact of Russo-Ukraine war and its impact on the global energy supply chain, and then zooming on to the energy security of the Western Europe. It is a mixture of international relations, strategic studies, economics, and energy security, to a difficult subject which needs a lot of documents. And for this research, I have conducted a literature review of over 500 documents from all international agencies like International Energy Agency, IMF, World Bank, CREA, and some of the archive data of the Russia. Today's presentations both are totally up to date, and the data which I'll be presenting, it will be up to 22nd of May of 2024. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is a data-driven presentation, not exclusively like the one we see in international relations. So, whatever the punchlines I'll be showing here, they have a backup slide, which I'll not be showing. So, please don't worry about the 94 slides in the presentation. I'll be just presenting around 22 slides. The rest of that are the data slides, which are actually the backlink of those punchlines which I am presenting. So this is the layout. First of all, briefly, I'll be discussing the war and its impact on the Russian economy, and then the impact of the war on the global oil, gas, and coal supply chains, and then energy subsidies, evaluating the efficacy of the sanctions imposed by the West, and then some of the cardinals of impact on a global energy crisis. I'll be carrying out the SWOT analysis, and the last but not the least, the most interesting thing is the scenario building technique, which is modified by my own self, and it is not the one which we normally see in the world. So let's start the impact of the war in the Russian economy. Ladies and gentlemen, I would request your attention to just focus on, from now on the text which is marked in yellow. Rest you can just leave it. So the first pointer, and for all these points and the subsequent points I'll be presenting, I have the backup slides, the graphs, and the complete Excel sheets and the data available. So the GDP growth rate, which was perceived, the Russian economy might have been hit. It is again after 2022 is rebounding, and presently it is just 5.5, which is a very positive growth rate. The share of the oil and gas in the Russian GDP, which declined in 2022, is again rebounding, and presently it is 17.3%. The GDP per capita, again, one of the healthy one, especially in the Eastern Europe or the Central Asia, it is $13,000, above $13,000, and IMF projections are positive in the coming years. The currency exchange rate, again, one of the metrics which we generally evaluate while identifying the impact of a geopolitical conflict on any country's economy. It is a very marginal impact where its ruble is only devalued by 1.38% till 2024. So it is not a very big change or big deflation. The inflation rate again is 5%, which is in comparison with the global rate, which is 8.7, is very positive for the masses or the people and their livelihood in Russia. And EU, in comparison to Russia, faced far higher inflation rates, especially related to the energy products. And the punchline or the conclusion of this is the Russian economy is not under acute stress. So we should not be expecting that Putin would shorten the war. For him, a prolonged or a long-haul war is a better alternative. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's see the impact on overall fossil fuels and the Russian share. The Russian revenue increase in which was decreased before February 2023, first year of the war from February 2022. It again started picking up in after October 2023. The revenue from fossil fuels in 1 year up till now in 2 years is 670 billion euros, and out of which 195 billion were contributed by European Union. So the European Union on one side, where it has applied sanctions, still buying the energy from Russia, and it is worth 195 billion euros. So if we calculate the share of EU's in today's Russian energy revenue is around 29%, and overall Russia energy revenue loss because of the conflict is around 30%, which translates into 110 billion in 2 years. In contrast, the marginal decrease in volume, where there is a decrease in overall revenue is in revenue in euros, the tonnage of these fuels has had a marginal decrease of 3.2%. Means Russia is still exporting the same quantity, almost the same quantity, but on a lower cost. Now let's see. I hope my slides are changing. Hello. Hello.
Yes,
Am I audible?
yes, we are hearing you.
Okay. So impact on fossil fuels and the Russian share, the overall percentage change in Russian energy. Overall, there is a decline in the total energy revenue by 17%. And the major decrease is from the EU side, which decreases imports from Russia by 77%. USA has decreased its imports from Russia by 96%, while UK has totally banned Russian fossil fuels. The largest importers since then are China, who have increased their imports by 33%, India, the second largest importer by 18%, and Turkey is the third largest importer of Russian fossil fuels, contributing around 13.5%. So this all translates into the punchline I have highlighted below, which says the national interest of the countries versus the reality of the sanctions we are drumming so much. Can we move on? Okay, now let's see the impact on global oil supply chain. The price cap restrictions which were imposed by the West on 5th of December 2022, that nobody will buy the Russian crude oil above the price of $60 per barrel, has a very minimal or marginal impact on the Russian economy, because it has been violated since then, and people, the alternative buyers and purchasers, are still buying the Russian energy from Russia, though there was a marginal decline in the start in 2023, but it picked up in 2023 and in 2024. The crude oil prices at the moment is about $84 per barrel, which is far above the level prescribed by price cap. Please next. This is the increased share of imports: China, India, Turkey, Singapore, and UAE, and the increased imports. And then what is happening actually? They have these laundrant countries, they have increased their imports of crude oil from Russia. They are refining in their countries and selling the same refined oil which they have brought from Russia to the European Union countries on a far higher rates. Okay, please move on. So Russian oil exports, it had an impact in 2022, but since then the laundromat countries like India, China, Turkey, they have increased their imports by 80%, and there is a marginal increase of the non-price cap countries. The conclusion is that the countries who are importing the Russian oil, crude oil, they are refining and selling it 98% to the price cap countries of the EU and only 2% to the non-price cap countries. Next, please. So these are the, if we see the overall distribution of the crude oil, it is supplied through two mediums. One is pipeline and the other is seaborne. And traditionally, pipeline provides 1/3, and the seaborne oil on the tankers is provided on the 2/3 of the total. The interesting thing is that where EU has imposed the sanctions, the over 40% of the tankers who are carrying the oil from Russia to the laundromat countries are owned by the European countries, and they are insured. 56% they are insured in the EU or the G7 countries. This is a dichotomy which one can easily find. Next, please. Please go to the next slide.
This one you mean?
Pipeline and seaborne I have already discussed with the map. You can go to the next slide. Okay. And now let's see. We have discussed the crude oil and the gasoline. Now see the impact on the gas supply chain. So as compared to the crude oil, the overall negative gas demand of the Europe is 11% because of their gas discipline and conservancy. Pre-war, the EU's share was 30 to 47% of the total EU's gas demand. However, its share of imports from the other sources has increased since the start of the war, and they have increased the other sources like Norway by 31.8%. So EU presently on the gas dependency on Russia is now changing and realigning itself on the other suppliers like Norway, Algeria, UK, and Azerbaijan. Next, please. Okay, totally in contrast with the natural gas, the LNG it is presenting a totally different drama, where the gas supplies and revenues and exports of Russia in natural gas has declined. The LNG is almost unchanged. It has not faced much. The supplies to the Europe and the other countries remains the same. However, USA since the start of the war has totally superseded the share of Russia to the Europe, and increased. USA has increased its share by 3 times. So it is now ruling as far as their maximum share of LNG exports to European Union. Whereas the seeing the problems in the gas supply chain, the countries have of the European Union, they have also increased their regasification capacity, which actually in general terms that means that previously the gas used to come through pipeline and it didn't need any regasification. But once you transport the gas as LNG, you have to regasify it again before it is used in a gaseous form. So it also cost additional cost. In addition, as a countermeasure, European Union has also enhanced its storage capacity, but it is still far below its maximum storage capacity. You see, it is 60,000 is the storage capacity, present storage capacity, whereas the maximum capacity it has is over 1100. The most interesting phenomena is on the last pointer, where the reverse gas flows from European Union to the Ukraine as a sport measure, especially in the winters, because Ukraine is not getting any gas from Russia. So the reverse gas flows are that the gas which is imported by the European Union is again part of it is sent to the Ukraine as a sport measure, especially in the winters. So this is the gas pipeline from the Russia. If you see, the first three the streams pipelines which were previously used, the Nord Stream, which is through Germany, Yamal, it is through Belarus and Poland, and the third one, Ukraine gas transit. The first two are totally dried up. They are not providing any gas to Europe. Ukraine gas transit is providing partially. The only stream which is still operational is the Turk stream, which is a pipeline passing through Turkey. And the LNG, as I have already mentioned, it has not faced any serious reversal since the start of the war. Please, next slide. Okay. Now, finally, let's see the impact on the coal, the third energy. Russia is the second largest producer and the sixth largest of the steam coal. There are two types of coal. One is lignite and the other is steam coal, and they have different purposes. And Turkey is the third largest producer of lignite coal, but it is a very minor exporter, because whatever Turkey produces is of the lignite oil, lignite coal is consumed domestically. Global coal demand otherwise from 2016 to 23 has increased by 23%, while the gap demand and supply deficiency has caused an extra increase in the prices. The overall, the first top contributors, the Russia, China, Germany, and Australia of the coal, they actually contribute around 86% of the total coal. Russia still ranks third in the world as far as global coal exports are concerned. And the interesting phenomena is where we are trying to suffocate the economy of Russia in 2022, 2023. Russia coal exports have increased by 122%, presently contributing around 14% of the total global trade. Next, please. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a SWOT analysis. Again, it is my own technique where I have pitched SWOT and PESTLE together. If you see on the top bar, you will see the SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat. While on the left, you will find the PESTLE, political, economics, social, security, technological, ecological, and legal. Again, generally we use the PESTLE analysis is with single S, where that S denominates the social only. I have included security as well because in my own perception, the PESTLE is incomplete unless we take into account the security angle. I'll not dilate upon all this, this one and the next slide, but it has carried out a detailed analysis basing in line with our this topic, which is the impact of Russo-Ukraine war on global energy supply chain and with special reference to energy security of Europe. Please, yes, this is with regards to technological field, then ecological and legal angle. What are the strengths for the Western Europe? What are the weaknesses? Excuse me, and opportunities, and finally the threats. I'll forego this. Please, next slide. I will try to abide by the time. This is an interesting thing, which I will discuss in little. This is my own technique, which I have applied in number of studies here in Pakistan and abroad as well. It is entirely different from the technique which is used in the world for the scenario building. I will explain how. First of all, we identify the key forces, then we identify different key drivers. Key forces are actually the shapers and the movers, like the global players. Drivers are the smaller in context, but they have more significance. And then basing on these key forces and key drivers, we develop scenarios. Then we identify the triggers, and basing on those triggers, we identify different strategic choices available for the different players, and how those strategic choices are applied. That is the application phenomena or the application method. Next, please. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the PESTLE. Just a slide back. Just a yes, me yes. The overall, this is the summary of the worst case, business as usual, and the best case scenarios for the world and especially for the Western Europe in all the domains of political, economic, social, security, technological, ecological, and legal. So I will skip, but these are included in the study. Okay, now this is interesting. First of all, how to graduate the key forces. I identified these 8 main key forces, starting from global powers like USA, Russia, regional players like European Union, China, Turkey. Conflicting parties are Russia and Ukraine. International organizations like International Agency, Energy Agency and United Nations, regional organizations. And then I have put them or I have pitched them on the matrix to qualify which has the maximum impact and the highest uncertainty. Based on that, I have picked two which are marked in yellow: global players and the international organizations. Next, please. After identifying the key forces, now I have picked up two key drivers. And three key drivers are the different from the key forces. And if you see all the nuclear flash, basing on their impact and in uncertainty factor, I qualified two of them, like the duration of the conflict and the intensity of the conflict, as the most two important key drivers. Next, please. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the main slide where I have pitched the two key drivers and the two key forces. If you see on the x-axis, you would find the intensity on one side, right side, it is high, on left side, because of the negative quadrant. So this whole study is mathematics, strategic studies, international relations, and so many things, even the energy security. On the y-axis, I have pitched the second key driver, that is the duration. Uh, in the positive quadrant, it is prolonged, and on the negative quadrant, it is shortened. And the two key the key drivers we identified as GP, you would find these are the global players, and wherever it is written IO, it is the international organizations. So this is a construct which I have created myself. It is still not used by anyone, because once you have to pitch two key forces and two key drivers, there is no other model available other than I identified that this can be the only design. So basing on these, the four key scenarios which emerge for the energy security of European Union, or especially the Western Europe, are: if the on the right top corner you will find the plus plus, which means that first scenario is enduring energy crisis, where intensity of the energy conflict would be higher, duration would be prolonged, the global players would stay as such, the way they are behaving now, not taking much of seriousness into it, and the international organizations as they are presenting themselves now means very less of interest. Scenario two in the left top corner is enduring hot peace. It is opposite to the Cold War. It is the enduring hot peace where duration is prolonged and intensity is low. And the third bottom left side, you would find the swift resolution where intensity is low and duration is short. And finally, on the right corner, you would find the global blitz, which is intensity is high, and the global players, they say whatever you have to do with the Ukraine, do it, but within very limited time and get over with it. Next, please. I will not be discussing all this. This is scenario one, which we have discussed in the previous slide, all four scenarios. Here they have been discussed in detail. What is the scenario itself and how the conflict will look like in that particular scenario. Next, please. This is the manifestation of scenario two of the same, that how the complexion of the conflict would look like. Next, please. This is scenario three. Next. And this is scenario four. How would the conflict would look like? Thank you. Next, please. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the second last slide. Be patient and just listen, just see it, wait for another 2-3 minutes. I will not waste much of your energies and time. So now, once we have carried out the SWOT and PESTEL analysis, from there we identified the key forces and key drivers. Basing on that, we crafted the scenarios, and from scenarios, we have found out that these are some of the triggers which can totally change the present global the energy security issue of European Union into an energy crisis. So these are the triggers. And what are the strategic choices available to the West to counter these triggers or to nullify or neutralize these triggers? They are mentioned. I'm skipping it. These are part of the paper. Next, please. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the last slide. From top to bottom, if you see, there are different actors. European Union, then Russia itself is an actor, Ukraine, international organizations, regional players, and energy supplier countries. They are also one of the main actors in this complete energy tug of war which is going on. So what are the three different domains of the conflict? The first domain, which you see in yellow on the leftmost, is pacification, where it is no war, no peace, and the things go on as they are now. Then they boil up to the simmering, and finally they get into the actual conflict. And what are the different strategic choices available in different shades of the conflict, from pacification to simmering to conflict, to Western Union, the Russia, Ukraine, international organization, regional players, and finally the energy supplier countries, and how they can collaborate and how they would actually impact the total energy landscape of the world, for which will have impact on the global energy supply chain as well as on the energy security of European Union. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I have not overshot my timings.
Thank you very much for this really inspiring, actually, presentation, because you have worked a lot. I'm really impressed, by the way, and your technique is really good. It's a little bit complicated for me, but I would really like to spend some time to figure it out. I can say that. It's a really good work. Congratulations. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so very much. Before I say two things, first of all, my earnest gratitude to the Aral University, my special friend Octave Bengal, and one of my requests that I will again post the link for my thesis in the WhatsApp group, if possible and convenient. Please give me your insights. That would go a long way to complete my thesis in time, which I am about to submit by next month, inshallah. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a blessed day and a blessed life.
That would be great. We will be honored. Okay, thank you very much. And let's keep Anna Yusafian. Anna, are you here?
Yes, I think I'm here this time. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you. That's good to see you. And you are our third presenter. And your topic is going to be the digital approach to immune trade routes amid in the Black Sea tension. And the trade in the Black Sea is one of the most problematic areas right now. So we are very actually enjoying to hear you and what you are going to say about these trade routes. Okay, here is the floor.
Good morning, all. First of all, thank you for having me. This is the third time I have this opportunity to attend at a conference held by our university. I would also like to say hello to my dear colleagues. I think Dr. Haji Mina and Dr. Reza Rad from Iran are attending the conference in person. I would also say hi to them. The title of my paper is, as you said, Dr. Selma, a geodigital approach to immune trade routes amid the Black Sea tension. A couple of days ago, I read the Global Trade Stories on the World Economic Forum website, in which the global trends were mentioned. One major trend is the demand surge for critical minerals, in other words, energy-related critical raw materials needed for green energy transition. According to the assessment conducted by the World Economic Forum, this is a great opportunity for resource-rich countries, and that highlights the role of trade and trade deals, and above all, the accessibility to resource-rich countries for the future of many countries, especially the Europeans, for the green transition. Predictions also made by IMF, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the WTO all depict a prosperous picture where global trade could more than double, with one great concern, which is the rising geopolitical tensions as the main risk to global trade in 2024. As for the geopolitical tensions, we can focus on the trade routes under pressure due to the geopolitical dynamics that are impacting key waterways. Escalating disruptions in the Red Sea, Black Sea, and the Panama Canal. For example, the Suez Canal has experienced a 42 decrease in trade volume over the last 2 months. Besides Red Sea disruptions, this decline is result of different factors. One is geopolitical tensions affecting shipping in the Black Sea. Two is the ongoing conflict in Ukraine that is reshaping oil and grain trade. And number three is the impacts of climate change on the Panama Canal. These interruptions definitely pose a threat to global supply chain, raising the risk of delayed deliveries and higher costs. Given that trade's vulnerability to geopolitical tensions and climate-related challenges, there is an urgent need for collective efforts to reach sustainable solutions. So first, we need to pinpoint the problems to know exactly why sustainable solutions are needed. Due to the tensions in the Black Sea, global trade is experiencing longer shipping routes, therefore more fuel consumption, and finally more greenhouse gas emissions. Climate change-induced drought that some routes are experiencing will also lead to disruption as in the case of Panama Canal. The trade route disruptions have negative spillover effects for the other countries in the region as well, necessitating shifts in trade patterns is happening. Longer distances and freight rates have an impact on food prices. So these are some actually troubles actually that because of the tensions in the Black Sea region we see regarding global trade. So the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development recently published an assessment in which it highlights the situation of developing countries regarding the disruption in shipping networks. The UNCTAD report proposes tracking key developments and assessing the potential implications for transport and trade, particularly for developing countries. This assessment introduced main issues to be tracked, such as the shipping schedule, service reliability, security measures for ships and ports, and delivery timelines, increased freight rates and insurance premiums, shipping connectivity, and finally the geography of trade. Until now, initiatives are designed by Black Sea countries like Black Sea Energy Submarine Cable Project and the development of Anaklia Deepwater Seaport in Georgia emphasizes the region's transit role as part of the Middle Corridor. Black Sea countries will definitely collaborate more than ever for successful development of trade routes. Looking at the bigger pictures gives us a perspective in which other corridors can come to the scene, providing us with alternatives that add more stability to trade routes and global trade in general. A geodigital approach is what can bring a sustainable solution to trade routes by focusing on both geography and digital innovations. Investment in infrastructure, both digital infrastructure and transportation routes, taking a multi-corridor approach into consideration, bringing in environmental analysis for choosing trade routes. Recently, an article was on nature and biodiversity was published on World Economic Forum website titled "How AI and Earth Observation Can Help Life on Our Planet." To support the ideas of my paper, actually, I chose the security complex theory, which displays a broader range of security concern, not just limited to military ones, but international economy, environment, and I think cyber security we should add to this phase. I think it is time to reapply this theory for explaining and predicting the road we have ahead by adding other types of securities, corridor security, cyber security. And for addressing these concerns, we need a multilateral, multi-corridor approach, one that gives us more options for tackling issues such as environment and economic security. I would like to add that last week I was also in Istanbul for another conference in which I also talked about digital transformation. I think that it's time to bring digital innovations, to make the use of digital innovations such as AI to predict actually the end consumers, to do some observations regarding environment, to bring in a collaborative, a more multilateral, I can say multi-corridor approach to guarantee and secure global trade in general. The literature actually provided for this research is not so rich, so that's why I stop here. I am actually anticipating many questions. Thank you. Thank you for listening, Dr. Selma. And
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As the scholar just studying in environment, it's also a little bit more actually interesting for me to see the connections, because all the time I'm trying to connect the trade, environment, economy all together and try to explain this is the real problem maybe we will face in the future. So that's why we need to fix this with collaboration. But I will ask you this, how this collaboration will be developed in this case of a crisis? So this is something that I'm wondering, maybe you can think.
Yes,
Then
exactly.
Our last presenter.
There are many predicaments, as you say, predicaments, barriers, but this needs institutions, you know. First of all, institutions actually creating norms, shared norms and values. But as I just read, and also another report by Gita Gopinath, one of the major economists, chief economics of the IMF, for my previous paper I presented last week. I think at the time, this is the new Cold War era. Some call this era that we are in the new Cold War era. So we need to seek for ways to tackle unilateralism or even bilateralisms. We need to look for approaches that bring all in. Multilateral approaches. I call it multi-corridor approaches because I think that will add more stability and flexibility to global trade in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for this good presentation. And I'm skipping to our last presenter. And he's here, I think, right?
Yes.
So maybe you have you sent your presentation
Yes.
to us? Just so let's me open that first. Okay, our last presenter for this session, he will be Ibrahim Rezairat. He wrote this letter with his actually advisor, right? Yes, a colleague, Rahmat Hajine. The consequences of the Trans-Caspian pipeline on the energy security of Iran and Turkey.
Yes.
Yes, you can switch with that if you like, or I can do that too. Yes.
Can I start?
Yes, of course, please.
My slides. Honored to be the second time to the Arda University, and my presentation and
Could you speak a little bit louder, okay, because I have
the consequence of the Trans-Caspian pipeline or TCP on the energy security of Iran and the Turkey. Dr. Hajimine and The main question of this article is what are the consequences of the Trans-Caspian pipeline and the energy security of Iran and the Turkey? Hypothesis and methodology. Hypothesis is the base of this hypothesis is if the Trans-Caspian pipeline is implemented, this issue can weaken Iran's energy security by reducing transit role, supply security, and environmental problem. And the other hand, can improve the role of Turkey transition and export natural gas to the European. And we are using explanatory research methodology. And the theoretical framework of this article is the energy security. All of us know that the energy security is the main issue of the world after the Ukraine war, and this is a three definition of the energy security: providing energy consumers with their demands, or consider energy security as uninterrupted access to the energy sources at a fair prices. This is a definition from IEA. And the energy security considered four principles: availability, cost, effectiveness, and accessibility. This is the three main concept of the energy security. First of all, the security of supply. This concept is used for a country that import or buy energy units. The next one is security of the demand. The security for a producer country in the energy like Iran, Turkmenistan, and diversification is more important. And this article used this concept. Okay, you can see in this table some important natural gas pipeline in Central Asia and Caucasus, like TAPI, IPI, Trans-Caspian, Central Asia, China gas pipeline, or line A, B, C, and D, and BTE or South Caucasus pipeline, and TANAP, Trans-Anatolian gas pipeline, and the other one is TAP, Trans-Adriatic gas pipeline. Okay, we are going to talk about the Trans-Caspian pipeline. Trans-Caspian pipeline is started from Turkmenbashi gas field in Turkmenistan and reached the Sangchal terminal in Azerbaijan, and 30 billion cubic meters per year. And the cost of this pipeline is $5 billion. And after some gas crises in the world, like 2007 and 2009, between Russia and Ukraine, and the cutting of the natural gas export from Russia to the European country, and US try to support this plan to be completed, but currently is not completed and remain as a project. Some private company in the US and the European try to support this pipeline. Okay, this is a map of the Trans-Caspian pipeline from Turkmenbashi to the Sangchal terminal, and the two-way they are predicted for this pipeline goes to the Russia and connected to the BTE, Baku Tiflis Erzurum. This is another one, and I think this is a complete southern gas corridor. If the Trans-Caspian pipeline completed, they can connect it to the BTE, and then to the TANAP, and then to the TAP, and this can export Turkmenistan gas to the European country, and this is a so important natural gas corridor. This is another map of the Trans-Caspian pipeline. You can see the BTE, and then goes to another one. There is some obstacle to implementation of the Trans-Caspian pipeline. Economy and political condition of Turkmenistan. The Turkmenistan economic need to sell the natural gas, and after the Ukraine war, they have some problem. And the other hand, they have a change in their leadership, and Sardar Berdi Mohammedov came to the power, and some political issue in Turkmenistan. This is some obstacle. The important one is environmental issue. All of us know that the Caspian Sea is a landlocked or lake, and the environmental issue for Iran is so important issue, and Iran tried to solve this problem. And another one, the opposition of Iran, Russia, and China. All of us know that Russia tried to not complete the other pipeline in the Central Asia and Caucasus, and Iran also, and China, because they import the main natural gas from the Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan. They are not really like to try to be another pipeline in Turkmenistan, because they reduce the export availability. And this is the driver of implementation. The first one, the legal regime in the Caspian Sea, or OCTO regime. There are some agreement between the Caspian Sea country to share the Caspian Sea and explore in natural gas or oil. The energy security of Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan is a landlocked country, and try to diversification of the pipeline to the other part, and they are only, I think, export their natural gas to the China, and try to have some pipeline like the TCP or Tapi pipeline to export to the other part. Another one, the problem between Turkmenistan and Azerbaijan, they have some problem in the Caspian Sea, in the oil field, oil and gas field of Dusti, or I think in Turkey, Dustiluk. I think in Iran we say Dusti. And they have resolving the problem. And the other one, the war between Russia and Ukraine. The European country interest to buy and import natural gas from the other source than Russia, and this is a good plan. And in conclusion, this is if the TCP pipeline is complete, can weaken Iran energy status, because the Turkmenistan need Iran to export the natural gas to the Azerbaijan or Turkey, and if this pipeline is complete, they can directly export the natural gas to the Turkey. And the important one, increase the Turkey transition rule. You can see in the map. This is if the Trans-Caspian pipeline is complete, they can complete the Southern Gas corridor, and this is the effect on the energy security of Turkey, and can increase and important of the Turkey transition role, and Turkey can access to the Caspian Sea oil and gas. And thank you so much.
Thank you for this good presentation. Actually, this route is so important. For years, it has been discussed in Turkey too, about its security, about Turkey's role, yes, and Turkey's potential position in this route. It is very high on the agenda by most of the academics in Turkey too. So yes, I think our presentations has ended for this first session. So I'm opening the floor for the questions to our presenters. Who would like first to ask question? Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I'm okay.
Yes.
Talk.
Yes, of course.
I'm heard. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. To all the presenters, I tried to listen very closely. I have a question for Ms. Dragan, Yulia, Mikhaela, and Shifu Julian regarding radicalization and financial motivation in terrorist attacks. And you duly represented your link between ideology and certainly financial aspects to motivating and recruiting mercenaries to commit terrorist acts all around the world. My question, and I didn't hear your talk, maybe in your presentation, this the impact that perhaps because when we are talking about money, we are talking about you have movement of money as well. And of course, international community is trying to control it that much, but we have seen currently the use of cryptocurrencies. Have you given a thought of it, and what do you think the cryptocurrencies are having impact on financing terrorism and recruiting mercenaries?
I understand your question. However, in the beginning, the intention of our paper was to focus more on the somehow the radicalization process, because here, like I understand, there is a difference between financing and how to prevent methods of financing terrorist organizations, but it's on the other hand, it's another thing to look at strictly motivations and compare radicalization process starting from this point. So we came from the hypothesis that radicalization is the starting point, is the root. However, terrorism is the last stage of that process. So therefore, because we focused our attention on the root of the process, we needed to somehow to pay more attention to the initial and original motivation. I understand from your question that this is more inclined to preventing tools of financing terrorist organizations. However, every terrorist organization has its own source, and that depends on the region and also how their modus operandi. So I'm not quite at somehow at a novelty with this thing with cryptocurrency, because the intention of the article was to look more and compare different factors like psychological factors, sociological factors compared to the financing. So therefore, let's just say that we had another perspective over things considering this.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
I have a question for
Yes, please.
or if what are the preventive policies of the EU with regard to the human trafficking?
Not with regard to the human trafficking, but their crime policies, not crime policies,
Regulations on crimes?
Their regulations on crimes are usually against human trafficking. Also, their border policies are against human trafficking, but in my opinion, they are not insufficient.
Yeah.
And they are not successful.
So you can dwell on this topic in your full paper.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, and also I would like to make an addition. I think that the Council of Europe's actually procedures are better than the European Union. Basically, they have a lot of cases, especially in the Mediterranean Sea. So maybe if there are, you can check the Black Sea region as well, because it is the way that to develop the literature as well. Okay, thank you. Anna?
Yes, I have a question from Lulia. Yeah, your topic was so interesting because I myself wrote an article years ago regarding Daesh and this fundamentalism that is growing in this region. And my point was that in order to tackle those identity and psychological issues, we need to bring a balance of identity in this region. I, at that time, worked on no rules as something that brings in shared values and norms which do not have the potential of becoming fundamental because it's free from religious ideas and thoughts. It's something which is culture. And I also 2 years ago at our university, I then got into a broader picture. I thought that Asia should all together go under the same umbrella to work on shared norms and beliefs that comes out of culture in order to tackle those fundamentalist views. I just wanted to add this comment and thank you for your presentation, Yulia. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, and I do agree because I believe that there is a difference between the macro level when you look at the factors that basically are the starting point for radicalization, and also there is a necessity, no matter how there are different approaches in the literature, there is a necessity to look also considering religious reasons, financial reasons, and what is the collective identity. So that comes to my next thing. Let's just look also at the region, because every region like Middle East, Asia, and so on and so forth has somehow at some point a collective identity. And if a terrorist organization can tackle like the vulnerability, considering, let's say, like the collective identity in that environment, that could be something in addition to other factors that can be micro and individual factors. So therefore, when we are looking at the radicalization process and also what could be the motivations for terrorists, we need to look, in my opinion, we need to look also at the individual factors that can predispose a person to radicalization, but also what could be like the meso factors and also what could be the macro factors, and somehow to have a comprehensive approach over this. Mostly because if we look at different types and typologies of terrorist organizations, we can see that let's just compare Al Qaeda with ISIS. We from that can understand that even if in the literature, when you treat this only as an academic approach, the first thing is to say, well, ideology, whether money, has no such a play does not play such a big role in this. But when it's about the practitioner approaches here, because there are two different things, academic approaches and also practitioner approaches. If you take that and look from a practitioner approach, you can see that even ideology, whether financial reasons, can have like an impact. So, well, that was my kind of approach in this.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Okay, I would like to ask a question to Anna. Then I would like to ask a question to dear Rifatullah Rifat. Anna, you said that you are offering a multi-corridor approach. In this multi-corridor approach, it is only focused on the sea routes, or we are calculating the air routes as well, because you know their contribution to climate and above the greenhouse gases is differentiated. And when we use the sea routes, it's also increase the actually the sea problems as well. So what is your offer, and what kind of an actually approach we should have in this planning?
Both, not just actually maritime routes, but also those routes that include roads, railways. That is, you know, something so general I have in mind. So it's something that can, because we can by technology, actually by the help of technology, we can choose which route to take for which consumers and what goods. So that could give us the shortest way which is going to be more, economic, less expensive, and also something that harms the environment less, something that will lead to less carbon emission.
Thank you very much. So it's a
Because in
one way to plan.
You know, sorry, just to add, these are some AI tools that now is 70% actually of the trade in the United States are, they are based on the analysis provided by AI tools for choosing end consumers, for personalizing the trade actually patterns. So that's why I took the idea from that trend actually.
That's really interesting because I would really like to read that when you develop this idea with examples. Yes, it would be good for me to read. And dear Rifat, you have presented a really good paper. As I said, just actually your method is really good. Actually, can we apply this method to other current problems? Actually, about the other oil producer countries. How we can use this framework to other studies.
Thank you so much for your question. Surely, this is a scenario building technique. Basically, internationally we adopt one method, which is just you apply two key factors or the two key drivers. I have modified it where I have applied two key drivers and two key forces, because unless you apply both two key forces, you won't be able to get the accurate results from the key drivers alone, because drivers are actually made applicable and operational by the key forces. Like I just given a small example, like USA, the global players, the China, they are the movers and the shakers. They are the key forces, and they move the key drivers like the geopolitical tensions, the energy security dynamics, the global energy supply chain, the energy security of Europe. So they are totally interdependent, and unless the key forces are applied, the key drivers will always give marginal fraction of wrong results. This is my model which I have adopted and have applied in a number of studies, though most of them were totally classified. But since retiring from army, now I am applying that in international relation, economics, and energy security. This model, once mature, after my thesis, it will go public. And the one of the universities in UK is already, they are doing collaborative research with me on this new concept. Beside that, I have also proposed a totally different phenomena and a different model for the I have called it COMPER. That is, it is the modified version of the CBPR, the community-based participatory research. I have modified that also. That is also being researched. So once my thesis is complete, it will go public, and this model is applied on any scenario, any situation, any region of the world, any country, on any kind of situation, whether it is economics, international relations, the collaboration, the cooperation, the conflict between the countries. So these kind of scenario techniques can be applied all across the complete range of different phenomena we face in our daily life or at strategic level.
Yeah, that's really good to hear that, because for some time we have been discussing about to use the qualitative data or quantitative data in our studies actually, and mostly in Turkey we have qualitative studies. So it's good to hear that maybe in our actually section this kind of studies increase by your contribution.
Just a point, you very rightly identified that most of the social sciences, especially the international relation, they depend their research on purely qualitative analysis. Those are thematic analysis or content analysis. But I wanted to totally transform it, uh, where all the pointers which I have given in my thesis and in today's presentation, they are totally data driven. There is nothing from my side, and there is nothing from anyone's opinion. It is totally unbiased, where I've said that the sanctions which we drum so much that they would ruin Russia. I have proven it through data that it has very marginal impact. The same way, once we say that Russia has been isolated as far as their revenue from fossil fuels is concerned, I have proven it with the data that the reality is a bit different. The same way, all the pointers which I have mentioned, they all are data driven. They all have big Excel sheets, and those data are not driven or taken from one side. There are multiple sites like CRIA, Bruegel, IMF, World Bank site, the European Union, IEA, and I have verified the data from different sources, then pitched them on Excel sheets, brought them into some kind of analytical conclusions, and then pitched here. So the main problem since I have started my PhD in international relation was that most of the authors, they have a very biased opinion. And once they comment, they cannot forget their background, their basic affiliations. I am Pakistani, so I would always be talking something positive about Pakistan and negative about other regions. The same way EU would be talking against Russia, but unless you prove it to the data and quantify it, the analysis would go wrong. And the actually the technique of scenario building is such a merciless thing which cannot forgive anyone. It would speak all truth with complete honesty, and those scenarios are very important at national level, at organization level, where people can find out what are the problems, what are the risks, how to mitigate them, what can be the strategic choices we have for the future, how we can present ourselves and how we should behave in different scenarios, and how we can apply different course corrections if we have to move from one negative course to a positive course. So this all actually discussing after with my supervisor, who is Dr. Usma. She's a female, and my HOD as well. So she shocked me by saying most of the panelists, they said, you have chosen a very wrong side while staying in international relation. I said, let it be that way, but let me pass through this, and if happy, I'll go through that. Thank you so very much for your comments. And once again, I would request that please I would look forward for your valuable insights from all the participants. On my questionnaire, I'll be posting again on my WhatsApp group, and I'll be highly indebted and obliged if you people give that insight, because insights from all over the world, I have already collected over 100 answers. So that is again one of the main cardinal to stay not obsessed with my own perceptions. So I want to get and seek the input from Russia, Ukraine, from European Union, from regional players like Turkey, and all across. So I am not biased. That is the reason that I am seeking your insight. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much for this valuable contribution. If there is no question, I'm closing this session. We continue with today's second session at actually 12:30.
Yes.
And now we are going to have a lunch break and see you in an hour. Thank you for your participation.